LastPass, which is a password protection service that exists to prevent hacking, got hacked. The breach exposed user email addresses, password reminders, and encrypted master passwords. David Gewirtz is a columnist for ZDNet and joins us now to talk about it. Welcome to the show, David.
Thanks, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Now, what else do we know about this hack other than the fact that it occurred and that they grabbed some data potentially?
Well, what we know, or at least what the LastPass folks are telling us, is that they didn't grab the actual vault of passwords. They grabbed email addresses from the LastPass login and some user salts for the system. So essentially what they've done is they've potentially compromised the master passwords for the system, but not all the passwords that are in the vault. And LastPass does a lot of really good stuff to protect both the master passwords and the passwords that are entrusted with them. So really, the odds are that users are pretty well protected because of the way the cryptography that LastPass uses, but it's still worrisome.
David, how worrisome is this for the users? And one of the reasons I ask is I'm wondering if the hackers can now use all those email addresses for phishing attacks and actually look like LastPass asking for an updated master password, or is the system protected from attacks like that?
Well, they certainly can use it for phishing attacks for that and other things. They also may have gotten the lost password prompt. In other words, if your password is password and your alternate password reminder is the password that is password, they may have gotten that information as well. However, on the plus side of this, especially for those who use multi-factor authentication, it doesn't really matter. For those who don't use multi-factor authentication, it could be an issue. It could be a risk. And this is the case with any password aggregator that's out there. One of the benefits that LastPass and a number of others do is that they provide multi-factor authentication as an option. Unfortunately, lots of folks don't use it, and this is a really good time to reinforce why it's so incredibly important to do so.
Now, you have to pay for that upgrade, right?
No, you only need to pay for multi-factor authentication if you're using like one of the USB devices, like a YubiKey. If you're using like Google Authenticator or something like that, there is no added fee. And you're also looking at all of, I think, $12 a year, if I remember correctly, for LastPass. If you're using this thing to protect your entire assets, your entire online world, it's probably worth the $12 anyway.
David, you write about security quite a bit, and you think a lot about it. Do you think that this hack and the hacks that have come before, I mean, this isn't the first time that LastPass has gotten hacked, and obviously a site like LastPass is going to be a juicy target for hackers. Do you think that this suggests that putting all your passwords in a single place is a bad idea?
Yes, absolutely. But it's also how we have to operate today. I think the easier answer, the more appropriate question is using passwords a good idea? And we're reaching a point where passwords are becoming obsolete. If we're using passwords, if we need to use passwords to get to certain things, then something like a LastPass with password encryption and so forth is certainly a whole lot better than the sheet of paper on the side of your desk with all your passwords on it, which is what a lot of people use as an alternative to this kind of mechanism. But we really need to evolve to a point where the traditional username and password key value pair moves on to something vastly different, because that's completely compromised as a system across not just LastPass, but virtually all of our systems. Hackers out there have enormous big data databases of passwords, password keys, prompts, and even the patterns in the way in which people choose passwords, because they've been able to analyze so many passwords that users have created.
Yeah, it's sort of ironic. The hackers using analytics and big data just to crack all the passwords so quickly these days. So my follow-up question would be, you had suggested that maybe we're evolving past the password era or error. What do you think is next? Is it some sort of biometrics? What do you think will go mainstream, particularly for the consumers out there that are just newbies to a lot of this technology?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, that's really the problem, is getting people to use all of these convoluted, mechanisms to do so. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have about 50 Google authentication codes I have to hand type in. A few months ago, I read an article saying that it's possible that the smartwatch may be the key to this, because it's able to pick up some biometrics, and it's able to connect to your body and be able to transfer it. We also have seen the fingerprint buttons on phones. But the real problem is going to be that all of our companies that do this stuff are fighting with each other. They're competing. So the massive challenge is going to be to get all of those organizations to work together to find a solution. And that's really where the huge effort is going to have to be, is to see cooperation among companies that normally compete tooth and nail.